So everybody knows that the EIC Accelerator is particularly looking for DeepTech, but what exactly DeepTech is extremely difficult to define. What very often is synonymous with DeepTech are very much hardware companies that need a lot of capital in order to develop things. So for example, if you can vibe code something in a weekend, I would not say that it is DeepTech because it's just too easy. You can't argue that you are in the valley of death and need a lot of funding if you can develop something in a weekend. This wouldn't make sense because clearly there's really a moat. Anybody can do it, and there's no reason to believe that one human is so unique that they're the only ones that can do it. So the way the EIC is talking about deep tech is very broad. They don't say it has to be hardware because the EIC Accelerator keeps funding software. They fund a lot of software companies too, and they also fund a lot of medtech, they fund a lot of engineering, they fund a lot of companies that are not university spin-offs. They fund all types of companies. There's definitely a trend when it comes to IP and patents, so they do like IP and patents. A lot of companies don't have them because they're software companies and they can't really patent it, or maybe just in the US. So there are always these exceptions. Generally speaking, let me just read you the definition of what they say deep tech is in the current work program. Deep tech is technology that is based on cutting-edge scientific advances and discoveries and is characterized by the need to stay at the technological forefront by constant interaction with new ideas and results from the lab. So now we have laboratory, which is already a bit of a bias there. Deep tech innovations are understood to be those that have the potential to deliver transformative solutions rooted in cutting-edge science, technology, and engineering, including innovation that combines advances in the physical, biological, and digital spheres. Deep tech is distinct from high tech, which tends to refer only to R&D intensity. And now let me give you the very important footnotes, because there's also some footnotes in there. Deep tech ventures have the following characteristics: positioning at the knowledge frontier with long and uncertain research and innovation cycles, relates to tangible products and industrialization processes, linked to the ecosystem and especially higher education institutions, problem-oriented or mission-driven, focused on the creation of an open space and a dynamic de-risking cycle. And when it comes to the R&D intensity, they add ratio of a firm's R&D investment to its revenue. Okay, so that was like a bunch of stuff that's very interesting. So first of all, we have the lab part, which is very important because it narrows it down a lot. Then we have the tangible. Tangible means you can touch it. Tangible is something that's usually physical, a hardware product, for example. And higher education institutions obviously means university. So why is this a footnote? I believe this is a footnote because it's too narrow. If you look at all the funded EIC Accelerator companies, they just don't all fit that. It doesn't make sense. A company doesn't have to be a university spin-off to win the EIC Accelerator. There are too many counterexamples. A company can easily be a software company. There are too many software companies that the EIC Accelerator has funded. Even if you look at the last few results this year, there's again a few software companies where you think, oh, this doesn't sound a lot like what the EIC talks about. So there's always software companies, there's always non-university spin-offs. So this is very narrow. I think this is a bit esoteric. I think this is what policy-wise the EIC would like to believe, but it's not the reality. This is how I personally look at what is meant by this deep tech aspect. There's two things. Number one is it aligned with industry? If you have a technology that is, let's say it's a software, it's doing one particular thing, and you apply that, let's say, to sell shoes B2C, for example, like something that clearly is not deep tech, you're just selling shoes, whatever. But if you apply the identical same technology, whatever manufacturing thing you're using to actually sell shoes better, you apply that to chemical synthesis, or you apply that to biotech manufacturing, you apply that to whatever something that is very easily appreciated is science-aligned industry, something that sounds very sciencey, or maybe agriculture or something. If you apply the same technology there, then it has a very different impression on the EIC. So what I actually care about a lot if I look at the company is not only the technology, I look at the industry they operate in. If the industry itself doesn't sound very technical, and I'm like, even if you have a really good technology, I don't think it's going to work. There was one company, I forgot their name, but they were doing project management. They got funded by the EIC Accelerator, and I thought project management is not something you would think would be technical enough for the accelerator, but they operated in a very technical industry. It was like project management for this particular sector, and you thought, oh, this sounds very technical. It's still project management, but it was in that sector. So that's number one. You look at the industry, it has to sound scientific. This doesn't make any sense. This is not technology first. It's almost a bit of a fetish for something that sounds technical. It isn't really a meaningful difference. It's just like, oh, this sounds like if we put this in a press release, it sounds like we're funding science, like something like that. So that's number one. Number two is obviously the technology. For software especially, this is a very difficult hurdle, but it's a hurdle you can for sure master if you really know how to describe your own moat and what actually builds, and I call it the body of work. What is the body of work? What if Google copies your software? If you look at it, this is, by the way, a good example of software in general. Let's say large language models. In principle, this is all software. But where's the difficulty? In building these frontier models where you need a lot of hardware, obviously, you need the GPUs and so on. But what is the IP? The IP lies in the weights. The IP lies in the model itself. Anthropic has a moat because nobody has the Anthropic model. They're closed source. They don't publish that. They sell the usage. And that is their moat. Their body of work is the model. Their body of work lies in the weights. Of course, they have their expertise. They have a unique insight into AI research and so on. But how unique is it really? You have OpenAI, you have Meta's Lab, you have all these Chinese competitors. Honestly, if their weights were public, Anthropic wouldn't be where they are now, because they don't have enough of a moat. But because everything is closed source, they have a moat, they have a body of work. What's your body of work? It's the model itself. Great. Now apply this to your company. If you are, let's say, a hardware company, it's your patents, it's your materials, and it's your expertise. If you're a university spin-off, then clearly you have scientific insight, or you should have scientific insight into how exactly build that product that nobody else can easily replicate. Google can delve into chips, can delve into quantum computing and so on. But if you have innovated in a completely new scientific field, then it's very hard for them to copy. So there's your knowledge, there's also your patents. Maybe you've already built prototypes for the last 5 years and you're the only one in the world who has done that. You have that. With software, it's very tricky. I honestly think that software in some aspects is the easiest to write. If you look at a proposal, how to create a narrative, it can be very easy. But the more difficult part when it comes to software is figuring out what is the body of work. What is the thing that's hard to copy? But you have to answer that question. You have to figure out what is the thing that Google couldn't copy today. And then you have to really figure out what is the body of work. And that, I think, is the most important thing to get through the step 2 and step 3 interviews as a software company. You have to really understand your body of work, something you have built outside of just the UI.